We really have the man of the moment, the man who's presented his first budget, Piyush Goyal, joining us right here on ET now. Mr. Finance Minister, thank you so much. Congratulations on your debut as Finance Minister with the budget. If I may ask you a more big picture, a more candid question, and you're a candid man, so I'm hoping you're going to tell me this candidly. It suggests that you had elections on your mind while making this budget.
When we introduced Ayushman Bharat, so that all the people of India get free healthcare, 50 crore people at one shot getting free healthcare, there was no election on our head. When Prime Minister Modi announced in 2014 that he wants to give a life of dignity to our sisters, to our mothers, to the women of India, give them toilets, and we scaled up creating nearly 9 to 10 crore new toilets, building them in such a short span of time. Twice the number built in 65 years. There was no election in our horizon. I think you have not appreciated that this is one government
what you've done.
That for 5 years has continuously worked for a better quality of life for the citizens of India, for every section of society, and irrespective of elections. Elections will come and go. Prime Minister Modi is focused on good governance. His focus on delivery of his programs. He's not looking at incremental action. He's looking at exponential transformation of the people's life. And this is just one more step in that series.
The reason why I asked you that question is that there is one person's view who really matters to me in the budget, and that's Swaminathan Iyer. And he gives you a 6 on 10, and he says this is an election year budget, this is an election budget, and if budgets could win you elections, this one it's going to be, which is why I asked you the question, because the targeted constituency is very clear. You're looking at the farmer, you're looking at the vocal middle class, and which is why I say, did you have elections in mind?
Madam, you've again probably forgotten the good work done for over a period of 4.5 years. After all, it's not as if today we have done something targeting one audience. We have consistently for 5 years, and as Prime Minister says, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas is our basic, very ethos of our government. And over the last 4.5 years, there is no section of society which we have not ensured gets a better deal, gets a better quality of life. You look at any section, and even in this budget, it's not as if only one or the other section has been looked after. It's the farmers, it's the unorganized labor you seem to have missed. It's a very, very big thing for an unorganized labor person to get pension after he retires at 60 and may not be able to have the same income earning capacity. It's those who are involved in fisheries and animal husbandry. It's the middle class that we have ensured gets more purchasing power, also adding to consumption and growth. Look at what this government has tried to do. It has consistently tried to take the benefit of progress and development to the last man at the bottom of the pyramid, to the remotest corners of India.
To quote your...
Develop Eastern India and Northeast India so that India comes at par and we don't have unequal development. It's a very systematic
No, the reason why I asked that question is I'm just going to quote your political detractors there, and they believe that some of what you've done, fisheries is very good. You're focusing on fisheries, you're focusing on animal husbandry, you're focusing on the middle class. Why could this not have been done in the last 4 years?
But we've been doing continuously. Where has this focus not been there? After all, for the first time in history, we gave MSP to all the 22 products. It was never done before. Why did they not do it if they were so concerned? After all, we procure more material under MSP than ever before. Probably what we procure in 1 year, the UPA time it would not have been procured in 5 years. After all, why did they not give soil health cards to all the farmers so they know what is good for them? After all, why did they not complete all these irrigation projects? Why is it that we landed up inheriting so many projects all over the country, undone, half done, many cases not even started, and thousands of crores stolen from the system?
So let us for a moment
look at Maharashtra. 70,000 crores, I am told, was spent on irrigation. Not an acre of land was irrigated.
So let us hope that everything in India, as far as infrastructure and development is concerned, the ground broke in 2014. Let us for a minute presume that. But let's come back to your budget and let's talk about the agriculture
madam,
push.
you're making a
no, when you say
very
nothing
unfortunate
was done.
mistake.
But you're saying nothing was done in the last...
I have never said that. I'm asking you a simple question. That why were only 1 out of 3 women having a toilet in their home 65 years after independence?
Some of what you may have done is very good, sir.
So
there is no denying that.
they did work as if they were doling out some benefit. We are doing work to reach the benefits of growth, reach the benefits of development to every single section of society, to every citizen of India, irrespective of caste, creed, religion, region, nothing. Language. We are making sure everybody in the country, the ethos Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, is reflected in each one of our
Mr.
programs.
Goyal, let's come to the sum and substance of your budget. And one of the big things
Well,
in your
for
budget...
me, the biggest sum and substance is what I could do for the farmers.
That's what
For
I'm going
me,
to come
the biggest sum and
That's what I'm
substance
coming
is
to.
what I could do
If
for
you
the
will allow me to ask
unorganized
my
workers.
question, the sum and substance of your budget is the package for farmers. Now, many people will turn around. Actually, the markets were very worried. People were very worried that you could be fiscally irresponsible. To be fair, you haven't been. You've acted within the remits of what fiscal prudence could have advised you to do. And I'll come to fiscal glide path and all of that in just a bit. But what you've done is 6,000 rupees a year. Is that going to be enough to alleviate the pain?
Well, I think this has to be looked in the right perspective. This is not something like a dole that is being given out. It's a respect. It's a Sanman Nidhi. It's a respect for the farmers, our Annadatas, who have given food security for India. It's a respect for those small and marginal farmers. Their land holdings are half acre, 1 acre, 2 acres, at best 5 acres. Now, they are certainly that section of farmers who deserve some
They
benefit.
need help, no denying.
Now, we made this a sustainable program. So, let's take over next 10 years. We'll be giving 750,000 crores to the farming community, to rural India through this scheme. Now, if you look back for the last 10 years when the Congress was in government, what did they do for farmers? They neither procured any material on MSP, other than that one loan waiver which they announced in 2008, providing zero funds, provided zero funds in 2009 budget, and left it for the next government to pay those bills. Now, that also they said 70,000, they gave 52,000 crores, divided into 3.5 crore farmers. At an average, people got 10, 12, 14,000 rupees benefit. So in 10 years, whereas a farmer got a small benefit, there also CAG has raised 100 queries of all sorts of misdemeanor, political patronage, leakage of money.
The CAG
What
has raised
we have
questions
done,
on expenditure here as well.
what we have done is ensure that equitably, all these 12.5 crore small landholding farmers will get 6,000 rupees. We do not want them to feel that this is a dole, this is a respect that the nation
But
is
what
giving
about,
them.
which is what the clarification I think a lot of people want to know from you is, what about the landless farmers? What about rural labor that has no land? So do they qualify, do they not qualify?
Well, as of now...
And you said in your press conference that you will ask records from states.
We'll have to ask records from the
Have
states.
records been digitized? Is this going to be a long drawn process then?
No, I think initially they will have to send the local talatis or the local officers to the villages, get the list certified by the local Gram Panchayat, publicize it so there's no misdemeanor and everybody sees those lists and they are transparent, and link it with the Aadhaar number or the bank account so that we can directly transfer money and it doesn't have to go through the old 85-15 formula that an earlier Prime Minister of the Congress had said, where every rupee, 85 rupees goes to middlemen and corruption and only 15 rupees reaches the true beneficiary. We're going to ensure it reaches the true beneficiary. We're going to ensure that it reaches them at each of the crops that they are required to do. We are looking at moving towards a 3-crop pattern going forward. And the problem is that there is no record of the landless labor as of now. As things evolve and emerge, if we are able to identify and create a mechanism, we can look at it at a later stage.
So right now
Every
it's
time
restricted
you
to
do something,
landholders, yes.
every time you do something for a section of society,
There will be
it
some
doesn't mean
movement.
one should start saying, oh, yeah, this is done now, what about this, what about this? Obviously,
point. There has to be
for
a beginning
5 years
somewhere.
we have been doing so many things, and in a series, this is one more step forward. It doesn't mean the world comes to an end. We are going to continue to do this for many, many years.
There has to be a beginning somewhere. But let me just talk to you about the fiscal math because our constituents are obsessed over it. You did not breach 3.3% to get at 4 and 4.5 like people were fearing. But people are a little concerned on the glide path on fiscal consolidation. Yes, you will end the year at 3.4% this year. In fact, you could end it even lower, is what your
it looks like because of the revised GDP numbers.
But
it could be 3.2%.
That's another story in itself. But what about
There's
next
no story
year?
in that. The formalization of the economy is getting captured more accurately. Earlier, the CSO never had this level of formal economy.
We will talk about 8.2% and demonetization here. That's debatable. But fiscal consolidation, 3.4% next year. And this is not just you. This is political class at large. We were supposed to get to 3% in 2008. Where is the fiscal glide path?
That you should ask them who took fiscal
Also,
deficit to 6.5%.
Now for 5 years.
Ma'am, they took it up to 6.5%. We inherited fiscal deficit of 4.5%. We did not take it up, we took it down. Our glide path has consistently been better and better. Even now, if you see the budget figures, it's 3.36. Frankly, if it was any other government, they would have adjusted 2 or 3, 5,000 crores and made it 3.3. But Prime Minister Modi is firm. Mr. Jaitley and Mr. Modi said whatever has come from bottom up, we reflect that in the budget, whatever the percentage. It was very tempting, to adjust a small amount and make it 3.3. But we stuck to an honest budget. Similarly, next year, if you're adding 75,000 crore, it's about 0.3%. So it only shows that considering that we had to ensure some respect for the farmers, we brought out this scheme. We are happy to move it from 3.1 to 3.4. The rest of the budget, we have maintained full fiscal prudence as planned. And we were confident and clear that given the large-scale formalization of the economy, with the tax base and tax collection increasing so rapidly, we certainly need to give back to the middle class, we need to give back to the farmers some portion of the additional benefit that we are getting.
I will ask you a quick question on middle class, and I think as a middle class taxpayer, I'm not complaining. Whatever little remuneration will come our way, but some people have pointed out that this is going to stoke consumption and not investment, and could this be inflationary in nature? Are we once again going to the tried, tested model of reviving economy through stoking consumption? What would you say to that?
Well, somebody must be a very uneducated economist if at all he said that.
Plenty of them there, it seems. Plenty of them there.
Yeah, there might be plenty of them out there, but we've seen what happened to the country over so many years, and we've seen what rustic common sense and experience can perform in terms of us simple mortals giving good delivery of good government and honest government to this nation. But having said that, if you look at the entire story, we have kept inflation down. Inflation is at an average for 5 years 4.6%. Never before in independent India has inflation consistently for 5 years been low. Usually has been vacillating. In fact, we inherited 10.1% down to 4.4, 4.6%.
You've been also very lucky with oil prices.
Well, I think oil, by the way, for your information, impacts inflation figure by 0.3% or thereabouts.
But core inflation is still very sticky.
Just for your kind information.
Food and fuel is low. Core inflation is still very sticky.
And that's because our farmers have produced much more. And which is why we are giving them this respect, this sanman. I think what's important to note is that we have fiscally consolidated the economy and given a premium to honesty, brought respect to people who are honest. And that is what is seeing the economy grow much faster. As regards your worry that consumption will stoke growth, I personally feel some amount of consumption is the right of every middle class family, of every poor family. And that's what we've tried to do. Of course, the main budget has yet to come and most of the tax proposals will come in that. The purpose why we took the decision on those with income up to 5 lakhs particularly was that these are the people who would otherwise be paying tax deducted at source in April, May, June, July.
Fair point.
And then would have to go and get their tax refunds. So we wanted to give the benefit to the lower middle class and the neo middle class. All of those now. And by the way, it's 5 lakh is the taxable income. Investment will still be encouraged because up to 1.5 lakh rupee
Fair
investment,
point.
2 lakh rupee interest on housing loan, mediclaim, interest on education loan. All those deductions, standard deduction increased from 40 to 50,000. All of this put together, I would think more than 80, 90, 85% of all taxpayers or all income earners would probably 90% of them would be out of the tax bracket.
Mr. Goyal,
there'll be a very small set of people.
Right.
And I think we are I'll be paying taxes, but I think if it is for well, I don't mean that way, but I think if it is, Supriya, I'm sure you also would not mind. If that tax is going to give a woman a toilet, if it's going to give somebody electricity.
And all of us need to pay some part in nation building.
Absolutely. And I profusely...
I don't deny that at all. I think people should pay taxes.
I profusely thank the honest taxpayers of India. I profusely thanked all the GST payers. It is only because of you and all these taxpayers that we are able to deliver.
And you were very right, and it was very gracious of you to make that mention in your speech repeatedly that you did. You at least acknowledge the taxpayers. But there's one question, and I was looking at numbers. Capital expenditure as a proportion of the total expenditure is down next year. Obviously, you being fiscally prudent and you perhaps looking and waiting and watching out how the uncertainty pans out globally. But if the government is not going to invest, the private sector is not investing, then who's going to invest? And what happens to the economic
If the government keeps investing, the private sector will have very little elbow room. And I think our government has always believed in reducing government's role in business. You may have heard those 10 dimensions that I talked about. One of them was reducing the interference of government in operations and businesses. And I believe that gradually government will have to move out of the model of investment, and we'll have to allow a private sector, encourage them to invest more. We have strengthened all the banking system. I don't need to repeat that. You're all very familiar with the story that we inherited on the banking side. Now we've seen 3 banks come out of PCA restrictions yesterday. The way we are recapitalizing, the way we have brought good governance to banks, the way we have stopped phone banking, I'm confident that this process will keep getting better and better. And obviously investments will come as the existing capacities get utilized. We'll continue to see big ticket
I don't think one missed the political import of your speech, and you're a career politician, so how could you? But 2 quick last questions. Are you being a little overly optimistic on some of the revenue streams? You are looking at RBI and PSU Bank dividends at 82,900 crore rupees next year, and divestment figures at 90,000 crore rupees.
Well, I think none of them is things which we haven't achieved in the past. If you look at divestment, we've done disinvestment of 1 lakh crore last year. This year we are well on target for 80,000 crores. All plans are made out, and you're well aware that 45%, 50%, 55% comes in the last quarter only, every time, every year. Similarly, in terms of revenue, because of the formalization, we've seen 18% growth in direct taxes last year. We expect similar or more growth in the direct taxes this year, and it will continue. Similarly, on GST, the growth has been quite honorable. I think given the fact that we passed on, or the GST Council has passed on so many benefits to the people of India. And by the way, the entire benefit given through GST indirectly or directly falls on us, on the central government, because we've foregone the service tax and made it a part of the divisible pool, which it was not earlier. Service tax was totally our revenue. This is one government which had the courage of conviction that our states can spend well. We accepted the 14th Finance Commission, gave 42% instead of 32% to the states. We've foregone our entire service tax, put it into the kitty. We've foregone the money we got from coal cess, put it into the kitty. So let nobody be in any doubt that it's the central government which has in fact ensured the success of GST, which has in fact given large amounts of its revenues into the pool, so that we could assure 14% CAGR growth to the states. I mean, in effect, this year it's a 50% growth from 3 years back. This type of growth states never had in their state revenues earlier.
You know, you're a career CA, and you will understand this better. When the finance minister speaks, everybody sits up and takes notice. And I'm sure people at North Block is going to have watched your speech, are going to be watching interviews that you're doing. The gross borrowing is up by 2 lakh crore rupees. You have been a big votary that India needs a looser monetary policy regime. How do you believe the budget alters that? Do you believe this is a budget which will compel the RBI to, or in fact the Monetary Policy Committee to look at a looser monetary policy framework?
Well, I think we should leave them to do their job. They know best, and we have full trust and faith that they will do what is good for the country.
It's so good to hear North Block say that you have complete faith in RBI. A quick last question. This is more of a personal note. Your first budget, could you sleep well at night?
Oh, very well. In fact, a very deep and very, very happy sleep. And I don't think you would have found me.
Whose views mattered the most in this budget? And what did the Prime Minister tell you after you had presented yours?
In any government, it's always the leader. And in our case, Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi is a leader who leads from the front. And the best part about his leadership is he has seen it all. He has experienced what living in a village is, what living in difficult times is, what living with difficult means is. He has himself worked at a very young age. He's gone to government schools. He's had an experience of how class discrimination and how village life has caused probably so many of the evils that we see in society today. And to my mind, it is his compassion towards the lesser fortunate sections of society and his passion to do good for them. It's that what is reflected in this.
So what's the best compliment that Piyush Goyal got as Finance Minister in his debut budget today?
Well, my wife is very difficult to please.
She's happy?
She seemed to be quite happy is a little bit of an understatement.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank
It's a pleasure.